Folks, a lot of news today, both monetary and fiscal policy from the Biden administration. And frankly, none of it is really any good. The stock market did drop 500 points or so on these announcements. One is on the Fed, and the other one, some early leaks on the Biden administration's budget. By the way, later in the show, we will welcome ace New York Post columnist Miranda Devine to talk about the dramatic tape release last night by our friend and colleague Tucker Carlson. But back to the money story. A couple of key points. First, Jay Powell is right to say the Fed is going to be raising rates much more than previously thought. The Fed's monumental error in 2021 of inflation denial, that was the biggest problem, is coming back to haunt them 2 years later, as their quest to disinflate back to their 2% target is a lot harder than they, and quite frankly, Wall Street thought. I've said before, my own hunch is that their target rate's going to 6% from the current 4 3/4. That's just my hunch. But here's the rub. Powell's justification is all wrong. Look, an unhealthy patient diagnosed incorrectly by his or her physician will never heal. Take a listen to this.
The latest economic data have come in stronger than expected, which suggests that the ultimate level of interest rates is likely to be higher than previously anticipated. If the totality of the data were to indicate that faster tightening is warranted, we'd be prepared to increase the pace of rate hikes.
Now, you see, Jay Powell's arguing for more hawkish rate hikes because the latest economic data is stronger, is totally wrong. It's the wrong justification. What he should be saying is that higher rates that reduce excess money are necessary because the latest price data are stronger than expected. Not the economy, but prices. What the central bank should want to do is bring down inflation, not kill growth or the whole economy or the middle-class families or blue-collar jobs. If he'd use the price justification, he'd be on target. I mean, after all, the Cleveland Fed's median CPI, which chops off the high and low price outliers, is still running 7.1% year on year. The actual CPI, 6.4%. The Atlanta Fed's wage tracker, over 6%. Using those price measures, a 4 3/4% Fed funds rate is below the inflation rate and therefore is negative real target rate. And in that sense, the Fed is not tight. It's actually still loose. Now, some other measures have steadied down. Broad commodity price indexes, for one. That's a good thing. But if the totality of inflation indexes is 3 times the 2% target, that's a bad thing. The goal of monetary policy should be price stability, not a high unemployment rate or a recession. The other goal should be to maintain steady living standards with a steady value of the money in your wallets and pocketbooks. Powell should explain this, but he doesn't. Then the other problem we're hearing is budget policy. We are learning that the Biden budget, when it comes out, is going to be chock full of tax hikes on successful earners, on investments, and on small businesses. All these are the backbone of the job-creating economy. There they go again. Apparently, Biden wants to slap a 5% tax rate on income above $400,000, on capital gains, and on small businesses. Small business, by the way, responsible for about 60 to 70% of the jobs in this country, probably roughly the same amount in terms of economic activity. It sounds like both Powell and Biden are getting ready to slaughter the small business sector. This is not good. Biden says he's doing it to save Medicare. But a slumping economy from higher taxes will make the Medicare and Social Security budgets even worse as the economy declines. This makes no sense at all. And all this comes on top of tax hikes already legislated. Remember, minimum tax on corporations, that's book value, an end to the immediate bonus depreciation for the R&D tax credit, a reduction from 100% expensing to 80% expensing on new business equipment, and continued Janet Yellen efforts to put together some kind of crazy tax on American companies operating overseas. Every single one of these is a prosperity killer. Every single one of these is a job killer. And every single one of these tax hikes is inflationary Because even if the Fed reduces the money supply, these dumb tax hikes will reduce the supply of goods even more, which creates higher prices. Remember Art Laffer? Producing more apples is counterinflationary. Producing fewer apples raises their price. Joe Biden, Jay Powell, somebody, please, are you listening? Maybe not. I don't know.